spotted an alligator with an object in his mouth. As the detective got closer, they fired one round to the alligator. The alligator dropped the object that he had in his mouth, and we were able to retrieve Talin's body intact.
On April 1st, 2023, April Fool's Day, social media was flooded with headlines that many believed were part of an unfortunate prank. Titles like "Boy Found in Alligator's Mouth" and "2-Year-Old Missing in Gator Incident" left people shocked and confused. What seemed like a twisted joke at first turned out to be a heartbreaking and real event. The story begins in St. Petersburg, Florida, where a fisherman made a deeply unsettling discovery just hours after an Amber Alert had been issued for a missing 2-year-old boy named Talin Mosley. Where were Talin's parents? Was this a tragic accident, or was there something more troubling behind it? In this video, we'll walk you through the events that unfolded, a story that is emotional, complex, and difficult to process. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future updates. Viewer discretion is advised, as some details may be upsetting. It all began on the morning of Thursday, March 30th, 2023. As she did every day, Lakita Denson tried to reach her daughter, Pashun Jeffrey, via FaceTime. But this time, every call went straight to voicemail, and Lakita's concern quickly grew. Pashun, just 20 years old, was a proud young mother living in St. Petersburg, Florida. She had graduated with honors from Northeast High School in 2021, overcoming big challenges along the way. During her junior year, she found out she was expecting a baby, but instead of giving up, she stayed focused and strong. In her graduation photo, she held her little boy, Talin Mosley, who was born on October 23, 2020, with her boyfriend, Thomas Mosley. Thomas had dreams of becoming a rapper. While he focused on his music career, Pashun worked full-time at a CVS pharmacy to support herself and Talin. Through hard work and perseverance, she secured a place to live at the Lincoln Shores apartment complex, a major step toward a more stable future. Talin, now 2 years old, was a joyful and bright little boy. His family affectionately called him Tay-Tay, and he loved the color orange. While Pashun was at work, Talin was lovingly cared for by his grandmother or great-aunt. Despite her busy schedule, Pashun always made time to video call her son. The bond between them was unbreakable. Just a month after moving into Lincoln Shores, Thomas began spending more time at Pashun's apartment. Things appeared to be calm. In fact, on Wednesday, March 29th, Pashun hosted a small birthday gathering to celebrate Thomas turning 21. Friends and family joined in, and everything seemed normal when they said their goodbyes. But the next morning, things took a worrying turn. Pashun's mother and aunt repeatedly tried calling her with no response. Alarmed, her aunt decided to check on her at the apartment. When she arrived, she noticed something alarming: what appeared to be red stains leading from Pashun's car to the front door. She knocked, called out, but heard nothing. She quickly alerted building staff, and a wellness check was requested. Given the situation, the staff agreed to unlock the door. Inside, they found troubling signs of a serious incident. The apartment was in disarray, and most heartbreaking of all, Pashun was no longer alive. The scene suggested she had experienced a very traumatic situation. But what made things even more urgent was the fact that little Talin was nowhere to be found. Had someone taken him? Could he still be safe? These were the questions that now drove a rapidly growing search effort. When police arrived at the scene, their top priority was clear: locate 2-year-old Talin Mosley and ensure his safety. While they began gathering evidence, the focus shifted to finding the missing child. An Amber Alert was issued almost immediately. Soon the community came together. Local authorities, neighbors, and even the FBI joined in the efforts to bring Talin home. Since Thomas Mosley was the last known person to have been with both Pashun and Talin after the birthday celebration, investigators were eager to speak with him. There was hope that maybe he had taken Talin to a safe place and that whatever had happened occurred afterward. His mother's home, just a short drive away, was one of the first places they checked. Meanwhile, the story began spreading quickly across local news and social media as the community anxiously awaited any updates. All eyes were now on the search for Talin, hoping for a safe return and answers to the questions everyone was asking.
For this missing 2-year-old boy you see on the right side of your screen here, it happened at the Lincoln Shores Apartments on 4th Street North, where detectives found 20-year-old Pashun Jeffrey dead. Police tell us her 2-year-old son, Talin Mosley, is missing right now. Again, you see him right here. Police believe he could be in danger. The FDLE says he's been kidnapped. They are searching for him right now.
Meanwhile, investigators located Thomas Mosley at his mother's home. She shared that he had arrived the previous night around 9:15 p.m. and appeared to have injuries on his arms and hands. He had since gone to St. Andrew's Hospital for treatment. When authorities spoke with Thomas, they observed that the injuries on his hands were possibly consistent with what's known as knife slip wounds, which can happen when someone's hand accidentally slides during contact with a sharp object. These were not identified as defensive in nature. When questioned, Thomas chose not to answer and requested legal representation. What raised additional concern was that he did not have Talin with him and provided no information about the child's whereabouts. This development made the search for Talin even more critical and time-sensitive.
We want to talk to the father. Again, we want to know where Talin is. And we want the father, if he knows where Talin is, to tell us. And that's what we want. We want Talin.
As authorities continued speaking with Thomas, search teams expanded their efforts across St. Petersburg in a race against time to locate Talin. Helicopters flew overhead, K-9 units tracked the ground, and drones scanned the area from above. The family's emotional plea was heard far and wide. Talin is such a sweet, joyful little boy. He's always smiling, always laughing. He loved his mom deeply and she adored him. Please, we're asking for your help. If anyone knows anything, say something. We've already experienced a heartbreaking loss. We just want Talin back. As the search intensified, dive teams checked nearby bodies of water, and a skilled bloodhound was brought in from a neighboring county. Investigators also searched Pashun's car, and a dumpster from the apartment complex was carefully transported for closer examination. Search teams worked through the night, with community members standing in solidarity, offering support and hope. A concerned neighbor shared, "A young child missing, a mother gone. It's just incredibly heartbreaking. It's hard to understand how something like this could happen. Everyone here is shaken. We're all hoping for a miracle and some answers." While investigators were still examining the scene at Pashun's apartment, some neighbors mentioned they had heard noise around 8:15 p.m. on Wednesday evening. Although it caught their attention, nothing about it seemed alarming enough to notify authorities at the time. The search for Talin continued tirelessly into Friday afternoon with no major developments, until that evening when a major discovery shifted the course of the investigation. Just a few blocks from Thomas's mother's home, a local man named Liddell Golden was fishing at Lake Maggiore in Del Holmes Park. The lake, known for its wildlife, was a familiar spot to him. But on this particular evening, something unusual caught his eye. An animal in the water appeared to be holding something unfamiliar. Trusting his instincts, Liddell quickly flagged down nearby officers who were already patrolling the area as part of the search effort. As they approached, they made a heartbreaking discovery. The remains of a small child were recovered from the lake. Authorities later confirmed that it was Talin Mosley. The tragic news sent waves of grief through the community, who had been holding on to hope for a different outcome. Despite the overwhelming sadness, the discovery brought answers to the many questions surrounding the days-long search.
What was the reaction, I guess, to seeing the human body in an alligator's mouth after that shot was fired?
Well, I can't tell you that. Just think about anybody. The officer sees a body of a child. What would be your reaction to that? What would you think? So that officer, he or she has to, they've been working since Wednesday, and they see a child in an alligator's mouth. So they got to do their job, but at the same time, I can't tell you their reaction. I can tell you probably a lot of emotion went through their body, but they still had to do their.
Authorities soon turned their attention to Talin's father, Thomas Mosley, who had admitted himself to St. Anthony's Hospital with several noticeable injuries on his arms and legs. While investigators were concerned about the circumstances, they needed more concrete evidence before moving forward with any charges. By April 1st, headlines began circulating widely on social media, with many sensationalized titles such as Boy Found in Alligator's Mouth and Missing Toddler Discovered in Lake. For many, it seemed too shocking to believe, but for Florida residents familiar with local wildlife, the news was especially difficult to process. While interactions between wildlife and people do occasionally occur, this particular situation left the community deeply shaken and searching for answers. How did Talin end up at the lake? Was there more to the story? Investigators returned to Pashun's apartment to re-examine the scene, hoping to uncover critical clues. There, they found compelling evidence. In the bathroom where she had been found, they discovered footprints with a distinct Gucci pattern, suggesting that the individual involved was wearing designer shoes. They also found a cleaning product bottle under the bed, marked with fingerprints later identified as belonging to Thomas Mosley. Additional data from Pashun's phone helped piece together a timeline. Her phone signal left the apartment around 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday and was later detected near Lake Maggiore before arriving at Thomas's mother's home around 9:15 p.m. Soon after, Thomas checked into the hospital for treatment. With this timeline and supporting evidence, authorities moved forward and officially charged Thomas Mosley. He now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the loss of both Pashun and Talin. During a press conference, the St. Petersburg police chief addressed the community, outlining the developments in the case and how the investigation had led to this outcome.
The father, Thomas Mosley, is now being charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. I can tell you now that Talin's mom, Miss Jeffries, her body was stabbed multiple times. Until the medical examiner has a chance to look at Talin's body, we cannot tell you the cause of death.
Following the arrest of Thomas Mosley on Friday night, further details emerged through the official affidavit. In a press conference, the police chief had previously mentioned that Pashun had suffered multiple injuries. The affidavit revealed that the number was significantly higher than initially disclosed, shedding more light on the severity of the incident. Regarding Talin, the exact circumstances surrounding his passing were not immediately clear. According to the affidavit, it was suggested that his presence in the lake contributed to the tragedy. A heartbreaking question arose. Was he already unresponsive before entering the water, or did something occur afterward? A report from the medical examiner clarified that Talin was alive when he entered the lake. However, there were no indications of harm from local wildlife, and his body was found in a peaceful state. The official cause of death was determined to be drowning. The day after his arrest, Thomas Mosley appeared in court for the first time and entered a plea of not guilty. Criminal defense attorney Bryant Camerino commented on the case, stating that unless there were significant mental health factors, the defense options appeared limited. He noted that the case might take up to 2 years to reach trial due to its complexity. In his analysis, the evidence suggested intent, pointing to several factors including Mosley's injuries, the timeline, and the outcome of the investigation. Given the seriousness of the charges, 2 counts of first-degree murder, Camerino mentioned the possibility that the defense may seek a resolution outside of trial to avoid harsher penalties. "If I were his lawyer," he said, "I'd be working toward a sentence like life in prison instead of a prolonged trial with the risk of more severe outcomes." Very little is publicly known about Thomas Mosley's personal life. Some online users discovered his YouTube channel, which included over 50 low-resolution music videos. These clips featured flashy visuals and chaotic lyrics, raising questions about his state of mind. His content and behavior in these videos have led some to wonder whether the speculation around his mental health might hold some validity. One officer who interacted with Thomas at the hospital reported that he displayed signs of serious psychological distress. While law enforcement is typically cautious when commenting on mental health, this statement led to growing speculation that Mosley's defense may explore an insanity plea during trial. In Florida, such cases are rare and heavily scrutinized, especially given the state's laws regarding capital punishment. In previous cases, such as Aiden Fucci's, mental health defenses have failed when a defendant's behavior seemed inauthentic. With Thomas, however, investigators noticed early signs that may indicate genuine struggles, raising questions about his psychological state at the time. Another potential defense theory is that Thomas may have also been harmed during the events in question. However, law enforcement officials have publicly dismissed this, citing a lack of supporting evidence. One aspect that continues to puzzle observers is Thomas's decision to go directly to a hospital after the incident. It is uncommon for someone involved in a serious case to seek medical treatment immediately, knowing it could lead to arrest. His extended hospital stay from Wednesday night to Friday suggests that his injuries were significant. Online theories have emerged, including one unsettling possibility, that the events may have been premeditated and tragically timed around his 21st birthday. The timeline, the lack of escape attempts, and the deliberate destruction of evidence raised concerns that this was not a spontaneous act. The way Talin's situation unfolded, being placed in a lake known to have dangerous wildlife, left many heartbroken. Some believe that Thomas may have hoped his son would never be found. Fortunately, a local fisherman named Liddell Golden happened to be at the right place at the right time, leading to the discovery. Without him, the search could have continued indefinitely. In a poignant twist, Liddell later learned that he might be distantly related to Pashun. As a father himself, he described how deeply this experience affected him and said that being there in that moment felt like fate or divine intervention. Pashun's family continues to seek justice for both her and Talin. In October 2023, a judge declared Thomas Mosley mentally unfit to stand trial at that time, based on evaluations from 2 court-appointed doctors. He was ordered to receive treatment at a state hospital in Chattahoochee. The judge stated, "I find that Mr. Mosley is not competent to proceed at this moment, but that he can likely be restored." In 2024, Mosley underwent additional psychological evaluations. However, at the time this video is being created, no confirmed updates have been released about his current status or whether the trial will proceed soon. Legal analyst Anthony Rickman commented that regardless of this ruling, it is highly unlikely that Thomas Mosley will ever regain his freedom. Right now, Rickman said, he's been found incompetent. Not that he was insane at the time of the events, but that he currently isn't in a stable enough mental state to participate in his own defense. This is a procedural step to ensure the trial, when it happens, is fair and just. While Thomas's family has remained silent, Pashun's loved ones have courageously shared their pain with the public. Their strength continues to inspire those following this tragic and complex case.
I want people to remember them as two kids who absolutely loved each other.
For Pashun's family, the most haunting thought is how much both mother and son must have suffered.
That's my biggest worry was that how they suffered. And when I close my eyes at night, that's all I see was the suffering of both of them. I feel like the community has wrapped their arms around us, and it's a wonderful feeling.
It could take years before this case goes to trial. However, many are hoping that Thomas will admit to what he did before then, sparing the family and community from reliving the gruesome details in court. For now, we wait for more information, including any insight into Thomas's past or possible warning signs of this tragedy. So, what do you think about this case? To us, there's little doubt that Thomas is responsible for these horrific acts. But do you believe his actions could have been driven by a serious mental health issue? Personally, we find it hard to believe that someone could snap and then act with such violence and precision. If he had truly lost control, why wouldn't he have spared Talin, or at least taken him somewhere safe? Everything about this feels heartless and calculated. At the same time, it's baffling that someone who wanted fame as a rapper would throw his life away with such a senseless crime. Could frustration over a failed music career have driven him to commit these acts, thinking it didn't matter anymore? Until we learn more about his relationship with Pashun and any potential history of violence, it's difficult to say what really caused this tragedy. No matter what comes out in the years ahead, one thing remains certain: Pashun and Talin deserve justice. Pashun worked so hard to create a better life for herself and her son. To see both of their lives end in such a violent and senseless way is beyond heartbreaking. If you found today's story compelling, please consider exploring our channel for more fascinating true crime content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos. Have a case you'd like us to cover? Drop your suggestions in the comments below. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.